All right, well, I'll start with when I was a little girl. I grew up with Cinderella, Snow White, and Rapunzel as my role models. And I learned a lot about the virtues of being obedient, patient, and kind. I also learned that, you do the best with the lot that you're given in life, and you do it with a smile. My brother, on the other hand, who was 2 years older, he grew up with Superman, Batman, and Captain America as his role models. And he learned all about being brave, breaking the rules for the right reasons, taking risks, and saving the world. So I ask you guys the question, who do you think would have been more successful in corporate America? Cinderella or Captain America? Who thinks Cinderella? Oh, come on. Captain America? Yeah. I would bet on Captain America too. So that's the provocation for my TED Talk today, that it is harder for women to be successful in the workplace because of the way that they were socialized at a pretty young age by society, the role models, their parents, their teachers, their friends. And I'm going to give some personal stories today about how that shaped me and some data that supports it as well. So I'm going to start with 3 lessons that I learned subconsciously. The first is, don't stand out or speak up. The second is follow the rules. And the third is avoid conflict. So, let's start with don't stand out or speak up. Fact: men speak up 75% more than women. Why is that? Why is it that men feel more comfortable speaking up in the front of a crowded room, and women feel like they have to speak up only when they know the answers, and they're really certain that that's the right answer? And why is it that when women achieve things, they feel like they kind of got to keep it on the down low, while men stand up and shout it from the rooftops? Even Sheryl Sandberg, in her book Lean In, talks about how she won this prestigious award, her and 3 other male students at Harvard, and she intuitively knew that she had to keep it a secret. And meanwhile, her male colleagues were talking about it and getting lots of accolades for it. So, my personal experience, when I was in high school, I was bold, and I wanted to change the world. And what I did is I led a 50-person student team, and we organized a citywide peace project. And we had all 7,000 students in the city participate. What we did is we created paper doves, and one set had the word peace on it, and the other set had the word mir, which is the Russian word for peace. And we sent one set off to Gorbachev, and the other set off to Bush Sr. And it was awesome. We went and spoke at every school in the district about world peace. We met with the ambassadors of US and Russia. We were in the news, we were on TV, and I was flying high. I was pumped by the passion for the cause and an exhilaration for the impact that we were having. It was awesome. And then something happened, something I did not expect. I discovered that my friends were convinced that I was doing it all for self-promotion. And I had very few friends left by the end of that year, which is very sad. And I had my boss tell me that it's just a waste of time. Nothing was ever going to change. And I was devastated. I turned down the role of valedictorian because I was eager to flee the limelight, and I retreated into anonymity for most of my college years. And in fact, I had a boyfriend who was about 260 pounds, and I wore his clothes to college every day just to hide. So you can imagine that, right? Probably a pretty funny image. So I learned in high school, and there's a lot of data that supports this, that it's actually in high school where women learn not to be bold. They lose their boldness in high school. And it's a combination of socialization and also what happens when they're particularly vulnerable during that puberty year. Number 2, follow the rules. Fact: Men apply for a job if they meet 60% of the requirements, women if they meet all 100. Why is that? Why do women feel like they have to be perfect? Why do they feel like they have to follow the rules to a T? Well, so when I graduated from college, I applied for a scholarship that would let me study anywhere in the Asia-Pacific region for a year. And it was a scholarship that my brother, who was 2 years older than me, had won. And so by the time I applied, he was over in Taiwan. And I remember how elated I was the day that I found out, got the letter, that I too had been awarded the scholarship. And later on that evening, my parents sat me down and they said, you know, Nancy, congratulations, but you're not allowed to go. I was like, what do you mean? You can't go. Girls don't go. You have to stay home and go get your MBA and find a nice husband. I was like, what? That's so unfair. Mike got to go. I said, yeah. Different rules. So I dug my heels in and I said, going anyway. And they said, if you go, we are not going to financially support you when you're over there. And I said, I'm going anyway. So we didn't speak for 3 months after that day, right up until the day I left for Singapore. I'll tell you, we were in the same household, so it was awkward. So I went, and they kept true to their word. They did not support me for the 5 years that I was gone. And the good news is, I think that they harbor some guilt over that, because every time I go home to Vancouver, they're like, let's take you shopping, and I milk it for all it's worth, which is awesome. Yeah. But yes, during that experience, I learned that if I broke the rules, and in this case it was my parents' rules, that there would be some pretty severe consequences for it. Avoid conflict. Fact, men ask for promotions 4 times more than women and ask for 30% more in salary. Why is that? I have 2 hypotheses. One, women haven't learned to value their own contributions in the workforce yet to the same level as men do. And I also think it's because women have a fear of conflict. What if their manager doesn't agree with them? That would be really uncomfortable. Or what if their manager thinks that they're not really committed to their job, that they are just in it for the money or the promotion? So when I got the scholarship, I chose to go to Singapore to learn Mandarin. So I enrolled myself in the National University of Singapore, and it was a really, really intense course. And after I graduated there, then I went to work for a multinational company, packaged goods. And there was an unwritten rule in the company that all women had to wear pencil skirts. I was like, God. It was already a male-dominated society, being in Asia, and my entire team were men. I was the only woman in the marketing department. And I said, I'm not going to do this. So I wore pants. And soon thereafter, other women in the company started to think, well, maybe I can wear pants too. And so more and more women started to wear pants. And this caught the eye of our female HR VP, who was not liking this movement within her company. And so the unwritten rule, or the unspoken rule, became a written memo and policy that was sent to all employees in the company. So I thought, okay, well, that sucks. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to wear skirts that go down to my ankles. And this is pretty funny because all of my male team members thought for sure that I had a wooden leg and I was just hiding it. But, you know, my HR VP got the last laugh because she did not like the provocation that I had introduced into her company. And so she restructured my contract so that I would be ineligible for the annual bonus, using my alien status as the reason, the official reason. And it worked because I left the company soon thereafter. So, you know, you're probably thinking, God, Nance, that sucks. You know, you've had a run of pretty bad luck. And I would say, yeah. But, you know, I think I turned out okay. And a lot of these experiences taught me things like, you know, perseverance and resilience. But I still have those voices that I hear all day long, every day. Don't stand out, don't rock the boat, you know. And 2 years ago, I discovered something surprising to me. I thought that my experiences were unique and that I was unique. And what I discovered is that I was not unique. That there's a whole generation of women who grew up not with exactly the same experiences as mine, but all the same themes. And therefore, you know, all the same influences from society, from the role models, from their teachers, their parents, and that they've got the same voices in their head of, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I can't stand out, can't rock the boat. And more women are coming forward, doing TED Talks, writing books, speaking at events. So I think as a leader at Intuit, you know, what's the lesson that I take away? And it's this, that women do have a harder time being bold, our first Intuit value. It's harder for women to create a vision that changes the world. You know, it's harder for women to stand up and challenge the status quo. And so I think that as leaders, I would ask us all to do two things. The first is to value and reward women for the contributions and the skills that they naturally bring to the table. You know, things like facilitative leadership, building strong teams, creating diverse environments, all the things that lead to healthy, thriving organizations. And secondly, I would say let's encourage the women here at Intuit to speak up and to, you know, push the boundaries and to share what their career aspirations are and to take those stretch assignments. Because we need to rewire women that pushing the boundaries is going to be rewarded and not punished. And I have a last ask. How many of you have daughters in the room? So, you know, the role models in our society today are much stronger than when we grew up, right? I mean, Hillary Clinton running for president is a great example. But even still, we're not all the way there yet. So let's encourage our girls to break the rules, to get dirty, to engage in conflict, and to shoot for the stars. And I'll end with one final story. About a month ago, my 6-year-old daughter came home, and her classroom was preparing for a play that involved a whole bunch of fairy tale characters. She comes home and she's really upset. And I said, what's wrong? She says, oh, they're making me be Cinderella. I'm like, what's wrong with Cinderella? And she says, she's boring and she has to wear an itchy dress. I'm like, yeah. Well, what would you rather be instead? She said, the big bad wolf, and her eyes light up. I'm like, I gave her a high five and I said, go for it, girl. And so that's Cinderella, that's the big bad wolf. And this is me and my daughter in Intuit party 3 years ago. Captain America and Iron Man. Thanks, guys.